hope that you get yourself a nice warm beverage, or cold, whatever you prefer, and sit down and hang out with me for a little bit while I talk about how we are not all destined for the same thing. I have some notes here in my notebook, so if you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at those. So I thought that I would start by giving my own kind of personal life anecdote and the condensed version of my spiritual journey. I grew up Catholic. I went to Catholic school, Catholic Mass, not every Sunday. We weren't super strict about it, but if I were to go to a Catholic Mass, I know when to stand, sit, kneel, I know all the prayers, etc. I was baptized, got my first communion, had my first confession. I am confirmed in the church, so I am full-fledged Catholic. If there is an afterlife that you are destined for because of your baptism or your upbringing, then I would go to Catholic heaven. But it was around the pandemic when I started seeing witch talk pop up on my For You page on TikTok, and I started getting really interested because I was like, this is stuff that I'm really interested in and I just didn't know could exist. There were also a lot of different things throughout my life that I just didn't resonate with the church. I am queer, and I, of course, would have been labeled a sinner. Even though I went to pretty progressive schools, I had pretty progressive religion teachers, and they didn't care about that. There was still this underlying message that it's okay to be gay, but it's not okay because you're going to go to hell. That's crazy to say to like a 10-year-old, but whatever. And then also just the fact that it's like everything that is human was considered a sin, which is just insane to me to think about. And during the pandemic, we found out about all of the unmarked graves at residential schools. And in Canada, we do learn about the residential schools and their impact and what happened and about colonization, but we did not learn to the extent that there were children literally being murdered and buried in unmarked graves and stuffed into like walls and stuff. It's terrible, awful things, of course. And all of this just really pushed me away from the church. I tried to be a Christian witch, which is more like Catholic folk magic and stuff, so protections, Archangel Michael, that type of thing. I still do own a rosary, and I love Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, but in a very different way than the church or any religion really would see them. Through my learning about witchcraft, I moved away from the church, and I have found myself really drawn towards balance and earth-based magic and seeing the goddess Mother Earth as God. So I always refer to God as the goddess, and it's not just Mother Earth, it's also the universe and all things. I think we all hold a piece of the goddess, the creatrix, the creator of all things. Whether that was a sentient thing or science, I also believe very deeply in science. So all of my spiritual beliefs are really rooted in what I can tangibly know, see, feel, and even just intuitively know, see, and feel. And when I was thinking about how my path through spirituality is not necessarily uncommon, there's a lot of people that leave the church and go to witchcraft and vice versa. There's a lot of people who leave witchcraft and go to the church. That's a different video. I was thinking about how we are not all meant to go down the same route and how we are not all meant to be the same. Diversity is the spice of life. Diversity is literally what drives our evolution and keeps us and every single type of creature and plant alive and thriving on this planet. If there wasn't diversity, there would be a lot of issues. That's why incest is such a terrible thing. We don't all walk the same path. We are not all meant to walk the same roads or even to get there in the same way. As one of my mentors and teachers says, Mia Magic, to get up the mountain, the eagle will fly up, the snake will slither its way up, people will hike and take stops along the way, and the goat will take the sheer mountain cliff and be able to scale that. We all get up the cliff in a different way, but I also think to add on to that, that we all are going up different mountains, but we're all going to reach the same, peak, the same altitude. So let's get into the different meanings of enlightenment, because obviously enlightenment, I think originally, like, the term that we use as enlightenment comes from different Buddhist philosophies, and I actually recently found out that you have to be male to reach full enlightenment, and that the female form cannot fully reach enlightenment, which I won't even get into. I haven't done enough research on, so I can't speak on it right now. But I think that this idea of enlightenment in a lot of different things, even in the Catholic Church and different, like, monk type religions, they have these men who are celibate, vow of poverty, and they aren't allowed to indulge in earthly pleasures or anything earthly. They're supposed to be from this world, but not of this world. And I think that a better way for me to be enlightened is to be of this earth. I am a physical vessel. You can see me here, right here. I am real. This camera that I'm talking to is real. Everything I feel is real. The trees around me, the grass under my feet, it's all real to me, and it's proof of a living, breathing goddess. And the more that I can live in harmony with it, the more enlightened I am, the more enlightened I feel. I do not think that we were sent to this earth, whether you believe in reincarnation or your soul was in heaven before it came down, or whatever you believe in. I don't believe that we came here to break out of our human form, personally. I think that we came here to be human, to experience this whole universe. We came here to experience this human experience, because I will never be more than just human. I can be human plus intuitive, human plus spiritual, human plus, like, all these things, but that is all just a part of humanity. Being spiritual is innately humanly, or, like, evolved. I know there are some animals, like elephants, for example, that have developed spirituality as well. All this to say that we aren't all meant to walk the path of getting rid of our earthly possessions and living impoverished and not being allowed to enjoy things like pleasure and certain foods and touch and love. I think that to bring us back into alignment with the earth is to reach some of our highest levels of enlightenment, because it is how we are actually meant to be humans. We are meant to live with the cycles of the earth, live with the cycles of the winds, the sun, the moon, because we cannot be more than just human. We can't be human plus a fish, human plus a horse, human plus anything. We are just here to be human. And when I die, I believe my spirit will go rejoin the collective everythingness of the universe, and my body will go back to the Great Mother, and the small figment that was Kalista Wilson that will survive for, 80 to 100 years, I'm banking on 110, let's see if we can make it, will be a little bit of my soul. Just a little bit of my soul will be Kalista Wilson, with all the experiences that I learned in this lifetime, and all the things I did in this lifetime to contribute to something greater than myself. I think that in this conversation, I can also talk about growth and what growth will look like for everybody going through these different paths. Because I heard a quote that said, some of us are here to evolve and to grow and to become better than we were, and some people are here to show you what it looks like if you don't evolve, if you don't grow, and you don't change your patterns and your behaviors. And I think that this is really true. I'm sure that you have somebody in your life who is very temperamental and just has outbursts over the smallest things, or they just can't seem to see past, like, tomorrow, or they aren't able to see outside of just themselves, or whatever it is. They can't seem to get out of this place of being a victim to their circumstances rather than just change it. And when you do see those people, it makes you reflect, like, oh my God, if I were in this situation, I know that I have my modalities to meditate or do yoga or dance or pray or any of these things, and I know that I can move this out of my body and I won't always stay stuck in this place that I'm in. And I think that a part of all of our paths, a part of these little human blips in our souls, we're meant to sometimes evolve and grow, and sometimes we're meant to stay stuck, to be examples for others. I also believe that there are people that are here to guide us towards these things. I think that certain priests, priestesses, elders, children, anybody really, like mentors that you meet along the way, they'll bring you towards your own path and they'll keep you on it until you're ready for the next teacher. I think that you can also find them in friends and partners and siblings, especially siblings, because siblings can be so different, but they have this tie that keeps them together forever, even though they wouldn't normally be friends or be around each other in different circumstances. They just stick together. And obviously there's the blood connection growing up together, but also because you have that shared history, and because there is something to say about, if you believe in reincarnation, that maybe siblings come to this earth to help support each other through childhood, to help each other in adulthood. So just a side note, do you guys like my nails? My sister gave me these press-ons. I try not to buy press-on nails, because they're usually from Shein or Amazon or the dollar store, and they're just plastic, but my sister had them lying around. She was just gonna throw them out anyways, and I was like, these are really cute. They're nude with chrome. I thought it looked really nice, and I think it looks really nice with my sweater. If you like my sweater, you can order one very soon on my website, which I will link down below. I have a business that I have co-founded with my best friend, and it's called Earthly Bodies Creations, and we make crochet, knit, and eventually sew. We sew clothes together, all handmade clothing. We try to use recycled synthetic materials, but mostly organic, natural materials. This is made out of silk and alpaca, kid alpaca mohair. So if you like what you see, go join our newsletter list and you will be the first to know when our first collection for spring 2026 will be dropping. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. So yeah, we're not all here to be the exact same. If we were all the exact same, there would be no evolution or growth of our species. There would be no growth or evolution of our planet if every single person, every single thing was the exact same as each other. Like I said about diversity, it is what pushes us forward. Diversity in gender, diversity in sexual orientation, diversity in race, in eye color, it all matters. Because it shows us that even though everything can be different, it can still belong together. You know what I mean? Not every puzzle piece looks the same, but it all comes together to create a beautiful picture at the end. Wait, I kind of ate with that analogy. I want to bring your attention to this book, The Alchemist. Of course, I'm sure a lot of people have read it. I just read it for the first time. Wow. It really put me onto remembering what my own personal legend or destiny is. And it was such a good read. The story itself is really good, and I liked every single bit of it. It was very comprehensive, so this is the recommended reading of this video, The Alchemist. But yeah, it talks about how everybody's duty on this planet is to realize your personal legend or realize your destiny, and that your destiny is not the same as my destiny, and that there are going to be omens and signs and signals and teachers on your way to find your personal destiny, and that they should be welcomed. It also talks about speaking the language of the universe, which is through signs and symbols, and you hear them not through necessarily your ears unless you have one of the clairaudient, I think, or clairvoyance, but through your intuition and through that voice that tells you, go this way, do this thing, this is right. And your intuition does not sound like fear or anxiety. It's just like a knowing, like, I just feel like I should look over here. Oh, there's 2 birds doing this thing. That's interesting. Let me look up these birds. Okay, they are eagles. What do eagles represent? Okay, that goes towards this thing that's happening in my life. And okay, how can I connect this thing in my life, like this challenge I'm going through with, for example, with work or something. I'm going through this financial hardship. What can the medicine of the eagle tell me about my financial situation, etc.? So I think that realizing all of our different destinies and always working towards your own personal destiny is one of the most important things you can do in this world. Because if we all work towards our own personal destiny, a real destiny that doesn't hurt or harm or exploit other people, something that fulfills you in your heart of hearts without harm to others, is ultimately what we're all here to do. And I think that if we all just did this, we would be living a lot more in alignment with the earth and with each other. Although this "we're not all here for the same reasons" topic does go to point out people that don't necessarily have other people's hearts and minds and lives in mind whenever they're doing terrible things. And my dad told me that we're not all here for the same reasons. Some people are here to create chaos. Chaos is the order of the universe. It is the only sure thing. It is how this whole universe and the Big Bang came to be. And I think that it is up to the spiritual people, the people who are on the path, on the journey, to restore this balance, because all-out chaos is not natural for this planet. Balance is natural for this planet. And it's natural for humanity. There are going to be hard times. There's going to be opposition. There's going to be misdirection. But at the end of the day, everything should level out to this plateau. With, big, not crazy leaps and ups and downs, but like, if you were listening to, like, if you were looking at like a audio wave, it was like, nice. But not like that. Does that make sense? I think that the reflection and the takeaway for this whole video is that we're not all here to do the exact same thing. We're not all here to be scientists. We're not all here to be artists. We're not all here to go to the moon. Hopefully one day we all can. But we are all here on this planet. And it is our job to follow our destiny and to, if we can, help others realize theirs. And to walk our path. And I think that if we stop demonizing that everybody else's life is different, that there are queer people, there are straight people, there are black people, there are white people, there are people that live in the city, there are people that live in the country, and all of it is perfect. It is exactly how it is meant to be. Not all of it. The plastic production, the consumerism, the wars over oil are ridiculous and definitely out of alignment. But I think that we need to go through these dark times to realize what being alive is really about. And what being alive is really about is diversity and prolonging our existence on this planet. And maybe one day another sentient being will come down or will evolve and they'll beat us out just like we beat out the Neanderthals and all the other types of humanoids. But until then, I hope that you stay on your path and that you get clear on what your mission is on this planet. Mine is to help this planet, as I said, is to help the people of it. Even if this video helps to bring somebody closer to their path, then I'll know that I am just even more and more closer to reaching my personal legend, my personal destiny. That's all I have in my notes. That is all from me today, I think. If you would like to see more of these types of videos, comment down below. Let me know what you think about everybody living their own path. And let me know what you think about my explanation of personal enlightenment through embodiment instead of through leaving my body. I hope that you stay hydrated, stay well, stay educated, and I hope that this helped. Okay, bye.